All right, welcome back. So, last day, last lesson, basically we looked at finding the unknown or finding the hypotenuse of a right angled triangle using the formula by Pythagorean of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, today what we're going to do is we're going to switch it up a little because at times I'm going to give you the hypotenuse and I'll give you one of the two sides. Okay? When I give you one of the two sides, we have to manipulate the formula to figure it out. Now you can choose to which way to manipulate it. You'll usually be finding the A or the B. Your labeling or substitution of which one you want it to be is totally up to you. I always leave it that I'm finding the B squared and A squared is the other value I'm given. So working that through, still using the same formula, A squared plus B squared plus C squared. The difference is going to be that in this question or this type of question, I will give you one side and the hypotenuse, but I won't give you the final side. And you have to find what it is using the formula for Pythagorean's theorem. Okay, so for this example, if I get my black pen, right? So let's say that I have a hypotenuse of 10, okay? And one of the sides is going to be 8. Actually, let's use 6. I prefer 6. Okay? Now our unknown is here. So once again, like when we're using the formula, identify what you do know and what you don't know. So my 6 is actually going to equal my A, all right? And my 10 is going to equal my C. That means I don't know the value of B. Okay, so what do you have to do now? Well, instantly, the first thing you have to do is manipulate this formula to reflect that you're trying to find B squared, or B in this case. So let's manipulate the formula. Because we know A, and we know C, but we don't know B, the formula switches just a little bit. And it'll switch around to C squared minus A squared equals B squared. So the difference between the two formulas is when you're trying to find the hypotenuse, you're using the plus. If you're trying to find a side but you have the hypotenuse, it's a minus. Okay. Now all you do is substitute as always. So the value of C is 10, right? Minus the value of A is going to equal B squared. Now we do the math. So 10 squared is actually like saying 10 times 10. Punch that in the calculator, you're going to get 100. Minus 6 squared. 6 squared is like saying 6 times 6, okay, which your calculator is going to show you is 36. Leaves you with B squared. Now, obviously you subtract the two. You should get 64 equals B squared. Now we have to get rid of the squared, okay, and the opposite of squared, like before, hair sticking up on top of my head, like before, is the square root. So it's the square root of 64 equals B. All right. When you punch that into a calculator, it's actually going to give you the answer that B equals 8. Now, the biggest thing is our calculators are all going to be different. So I'm going to take a look online and I will post the link to an actual calculator that we should use consistently so there's not a lot of confusion because I won't have time to go through all the different calculators that you guys have. Okay. So I'll try to find one that we'll use as a generic model for when you're doing the questions, both trying to figure out Pythagorean's theorem and when we start going deeper into trig and using tangent, sine, and cosine, or cotangent, cosine, and cosecant. Okay? So this is basically the manipulation working backwards, having given the hypotenuse, being given one side, and having to calculate the other side. In the video that's going to follow this, we'll work through a couple more problems just so you're getting more familiar on how to do it. The numbers will change. As always, if you have any questions, please make sure you contact me.